Sports Talk with Jerry and Camden. Let's get right into the news. Very limited action for volleyball. We're getting near to the end of the season, both in volleyball and football. Volleyball's only played one game this week. The JV swept Mountain View, and so did the varsity.
The next couple games they'll be playing in the Cotton Classic in Tuscaloosa, and then they'll be playing in Sub-State. So hope they do get there.
Yes. They play, and then after the Sub-State, we hope that they will be able to qualify for state, and they should. And there should be no reason that they don't play in state and win the state championship. Really.
Oh, they're definitely good enough to. They've been great all year. Both teams have. Same
Yes.
thing for the football. Really, they're also winding down, as you said, and they had their bye week this past week, so not a lot has happened.
It's just a good week to rest and get ready for some major games coming up. The next couple of games are very important. We play Victory first. That should be a little bit easier game, and then after that Victory game, we have Tabernacle.
Yeah, and I know some of the football players were, ready to get out and stay out for a week, not play after play games. They did practice, they didn't have to play games. So they were moving right into college football. We have Auburn losing to LSU.
I was not surprised. I was honestly surprised that it was as close as it was.
It was literally the battle of the worst Tiger team. It was literally the worst battle. Missouri and Auburn were probably even better, to be honest with you.
Probably, yeah.
Arkansas drops out of the top 25 after their blowout loss to Alabama.
I mean, obviously the score was a blowout, but it was very scary there for a little while there. Alabama let them score 17 straight points, and it was, as an Alabama fan, I was concerned there for a little bit.
Yeah, it was a very typical Alabama thing to do, get up very big and lose to Tennessee, as Nick Saban would say.
Yes.
But the low, I think the worst part of the game, I think this is the worst part of the game, Bryce Young got injured.
Yeah, that was, I wasn't able to watch the game. I was at JSU watching their game, but I saw the notification. I was checking the game and all that, and I saw that notification. It was not something I wanted to see.
I actually wasn't watching the game either. I was at a Elisha House retreat. Go Elisha. Big shout out to Mr. Dupree for showing me every play of the game. But when he got hurt, there was some big shoes to fill. And Jalen Milroe came in, ran the ball like Jalen Hurts, threw the ball when he needed to.
When he needed to.
Yes, when he needed to. Only when he needed to.
Yes.
Jameer Gibbs had a big game.
He did. It's by far the best he's played since wearing an Alabama uniform, and I was very happy because in previous weeks I was a little bit disappointed in the way he's played because there was a lot of hype behind him, but he showed up.
A lot of his runners had to do with the offensive line, though.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, and some of the play calling. He's not a pistol type running back. He's more of a shotgun type running back.
Yes.
But what are your expectations for Jalen Milroe this coming week if he starts?
If he starts, we're gonna hope he doesn't. But if he does, I expect a lot of run game. I don't think we'll see him air it out very often.
I expect the same. But I do think Bill O'Brien needs to change up some of the calls, and I think he will. And there needs to be more read option, more handoffs. But I do need Jalen Milroe to make plays when he has to. It doesn't have to be big plays. It's just going to be intermediate throws on the money.
Yes. Much like the throwback Alabama teams.
Yes.
This will not be what we've looked like in previous years. If Jalen Milroe is the starter, we will not have to Jalen Hurts them top offenses. It'll be very short passes and short, long drops at the field instead of the throw it over the top to Jalen Waddle or Henry Ruggs or whoever else.
Next football team to cover, Ole Miss and Kentucky. The final score came out with Ole Miss on top.
I was surprised by that one. I expected Kentucky to win that one. Ole Miss obviously came up on top. I will say Ole Miss brought out some really cool looking helmets out in that game. But I think those are two of the more surprised SEC teams this year.
I expected Ole Miss to be good. Maybe not like this is good, but I did not expect Kentucky. I expected them to stay around the 17, top 25 range. I was not expecting a top 10 appearance from good old Kentucky, the basketball school.
The basketball school.
But Kentucky almost pulled it off. They lost by 3, and but they have had some questionable performances this year.
They have.
Northern Illinois was a struggle. A
yes.
couple weeks ago. But Georgia sneaks past Missouri, of all people. Missouri.
Georgia, they started off the season so good, but these last couple of games have been, if you're a Georgia fan, you have to be concerned. Mm-hmm. And I really can't put a finger on why they're playing bad. It's just they're playing bad right now, and I think that Georgia needs to figure this out quickly.
A lot of people hung this on Georgia's offense, but even Auburn didn't give up that many points. Well, they gave up close to that many points, and Auburn didn't have a good defense. So it's really not all the offense's fault.
No, it's not. You're right.
To be honest with you, and
Georgia's-
this reminds me of a lot of Alabama last year.
Georgia's defense has got to play better, especially since we've seen the potential that Georgia's defense has. They got to play better than that.
But then, on top of to put a little salt in the wound, they get hot by Alabama.
Yes, that was amazing. And I expected it to happen. Once I saw that Georgia was struggling with Missouri, and I just knew we'd hop them.
To be honest, I thought it'd be Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. I thought they'd drop them a couple spots, but they didn't. Ohio State remains at 3.
Yes.
But
Who's at 4?
Is it? Oh, wow.
No, who is that for?
Oh, who was that for? Probably Michigan. Yeah, it's Michigan.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember there. Who was that for?
Oh, goodness. You scared me for a second. I thought maybe I missed somebody's in the top 3 that I don't know about. But no, Mississippi State beats A&M.
That one was also a surprise for me. But then again, A&M, they spent all that money on those recruits and they ain't doing nothing. But
I wonder, how much money they're going to have to fire Jimbo Fisher.
Yes, yep. It takes more than just talent to win football games, and A&M is proof of that.
Yes.
It takes more than 5 stars to win football games, despite people saying that the only reason Alabama wins is because of their 5-star recruits. We can look at A&M and tell that's not the case. You have to have more than 5-star recruits to win football games.
And then, a lot of people want to talk about how bad Texas A&M is, but Mississippi State, look, I understand Mike Leach does not like running the ball, but when the Mississippi State quarterback gets fired up and ready to go and he throws the ball, they're hard to beat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it. It's probably really tiring for defense to sit there and, you have to run out and guard all receivers every single play.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this is not on the agenda, but Deion Sanders apparently has hinted at no for the Auburn Tigers.
I wouldn't say hinted. I would say straight out no. Deion Sanders, that's a smart choice. Don't go to Auburn. Unless you want your job gone in a couple years, then don't do that. I respect him for staying at Jackson State, despite the money probably not being as high as some other programs. Him staying at Jackson State's huge. I mean, I know a couple years ago when he was, at Jackson State a couple years, Florida State gave him an offer, and that's his alma mater. And he still decided, no, I'm going to stay at Jackson State. And I respect Deion Sanders for that.
But what he sees is what me and you see is, look, they're bad, and if I don't build them in a couple years,
I'll get fired.
Yes, and it would be a typical Auburn to hire the coach and think, like Brian Harsin, for the first couple games, it was Brian Harsin is the greatest coach we've ever hired. Gus Malzahn, same thing. And it's like, then they get into it, which it took them long for Gus to move on from Gus Malzahn, but I think they'll move on from Brian quick.
Yeah.
But after the first couple games, they'll get mad at them.
Yeah.
But to move on to next week's game, we have number 8, shout out Mr. Hurst, Tennessee versus number 25, LSU.
Tennessee's going to win this one. I don't think it's even debatable. I mean, LSU's. I like the fact that the SEC team's getting ranked and all that, but LSU beating Auburn, that don't mean that they should not have got ranked.
You don't get ranked for being unranked.
No.
But hey, whatever. I think the same thing. I think Tennessee's got it. I'm gonna guess like 41 to like 15.
Something like that. It's gonna be a blowout.
Then probably the murder of the week. I'm gonna guess Auburn at number 2, Georgia.
Georgia is struggling, but they're not struggling that bad. Come on. Georgia's going to win this game by a landslide.
Struggling that bad. I agree. Oh man, but it is also a rivalry game, so they're going to come in fired up. Auburn will too, but Auburn just don't have the talent Georgia does.
That's true.
Probably I don't know to say.
Pre-season, this game was hyped up a lot.
Yes, this was supposed to be 1-2 or 1-3 or 1-4 maybe, but right now it is 1-0. It's Alabama, Texas A&M.
I think I feel bad for the running back, quarterback, anybody else has the ball anywhere near Will Anderson.
Oh,
Will Anderson is going to take somebody's head off in that Texas A&M game.
Yes.
I would not be surprised to see a targeting on Will Anderson in the Texas A&M game.
No, I wouldn't either. What do you think the final score will be?
56-10.
Okay. I'm gonna guess if Bryce Young plays.
That's true.
It's 56-10.
If Jalen Milroe plays, we'll go 35-10.
Yeah,
it's a blowout either way.
I haven't seen a lot out of A&M's offense this year, to be honest with you.
And I'll say this: it would not surprise me to see Bryce Young benched regardless of if he feels good or not, because we've got some major games coming up the next couple weeks.
That's right.
The next 5 games Alabama schedule after A&M, they're all currently ranked.
Like Tennessee's next week.
Yep, we got Tennessee, LSU's ranked. We play them a couple weeks. I mean, obviously things can change, but as of right now, the next 5 games after A&M, they're all ranked.
Yes.
So Bryce Young, I don't know if we should risk putting Bryce Young out there. We've seen things like news in the NFL recently, judging around a former Alabama quarterback, that putting out players that are hurt or shouldn't be out there, it's not worth the risk. And I don't think we'll see Bryce Young in that game.
And Nick Saban's using this to his advantage. He's saying that, hey, Bryce Young's day to day, but Jalen Milroe looks like he'll be the starter. And Nick Saban's using this like now it takes him to know how to game plan forward, because all they're saying is Bryce Young's day by day. So that they don't know who to plan for.
Right.
But more college football news this next week is South Carolina versus number 13 Kentucky basketball school.
The basketball school. I think Kentucky will win that. I mean, much like the Georgia situation, they're not good, but they're not that bad. South Carolina's got a decent program down there, but I think they've got a couple more years to build it up, even to Kentucky's level.
And the battle of the unranked, Missouri and Florida. What do you think about that?
Missouri's coming off a very near win against Georgia, so I think they'll win it. I think they'll beat Florida. Florida, it depends. It depends on what version of Anthony Richardson shows up for that Florida game. Yes. But considering we've seen the last few weeks that Anthony Richardson, maybe that first week against Utah was fake. Maybe he's not as good as he looked in that Utah game. Florida fans do wish to see the Utah Anthony Richardson, but I don't think it'll happen. I think Missouri wins it.
I gotta disagree. Call me on Instagram if you want to. But I got Florida. I think Florida edges this one out in a very close victory. I think Florida 34 points.
It'll be a good game, regardless of who wins. It'll be a good game.
And then I think I got the underdog or the unranked team. This one, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Mississippi State's coming in at 23, and Arkansas obviously kicked out of top 25, to be said. And I've got Arkansas.
I think I do too. I think Arkansas is a better team regardless of the rankings. Rankings don't tell you everything, and I think Arkansas is a better football team.
And Ole Miss, they got Vandy. They've struggled against some of these given wins. Or, then they have Tulsa a couple weeks ago, and it's like 35-27. They've been struggling.
I think Ole Miss will win the football game, but I think Vandy will put up more of a fight than we expect. Vandy is a lot better this year than in previous years.
Yes.
I'm not saying they're a good football team or anything.
They're not going to beat Alabama, we've seen that. But
but they are better than previous years. I mean, if you look at the Alabama game, they scored on us for the first time since like 2007. Yeah. So that in itself tells you they're better than they used to be.
Oh, yes, that's exactly right. And Vandy, I think, puts up a good 20 points, honestly. And
I could say it. Yeah.
Ole Miss just puts up more, obviously. Ole Miss wins the game.
Yep.
But you hinted at Tua. And you didn't say his name, but he's our next topic. What do you think about Tua Tagovailoa?
He should not have been in that game. It is huge news. When it happened, I was watching the game live because it was just a huge football game. It made me uneasy, really, because there's so many factors that could have gone into it. It could have been the NFL forcing him out there because of it being a national TV game. It could have been the doctors clearing him for whatever reason. It could have been the coach forcing him out there. I mean, obviously he wanted to play, but of course he wanted to play. He's the athlete. But in my opinion, as the doctor, it's your job to say, hey, you can't play.
Yes, and that's also Mike McDaniel. I understand he's a young coach, but I saw something this week where Mike Tomlin told a defensive back a couple years ago. He had a concussion, same situation. He told him, you can't play. And he said, I'm going to treat you like my son. And Mike McDaniel should have treated Tua like his son in this. And that was just sad to see, because you knew when he went down and the camera zoomed up on him, it was rough. And you were on the edge of your seat the whole game.
Yes. I turned the game off when that happened for a little while just because I didn't really feel like watching after that. But I would like to say something else. Recently, today, Joe Burrow was interviewed about the whole thing, and he said, and I quote, it's just a part of the game. Like that doesn't show respect at all. I mean, that kind of thing doesn't just happen in every game. So I don't know.
No one said that when Joe Burrow tore his ACL.
Right.
And, we said that's just what that offensive line gets you. That's what I said at least.
Yes.
But when the head injuries are not anything to joke around about, because before Tua got in the hospital and they started evaluating him, it could have been life-threatening.
It could have been. I mean, two concussions in 5 days.
That's not good.
I mean, no.
But we'll move on from that. The Rams are struggling. They're 2-2. What do you think about that?
Here's what I think. I think the whole. I know this is something that probably not a lot of people are even thinking about, but this whole Odell Beckham thing is throwing them off. The whole thing about him, he's hurt, he's not signing with the team, and the Rams are feeling the pressure of playing good, so he'll come back to their team. I'll say this, and I don't even like Odell Beckham that much, but it's obvious how much the Rams miss him, because when you look at their Super Bowl run last year, with Odell Beckham lining up and Cooper Kupp lining up, it forced the defenders to look at Odell a little more, and Cooper Kupp would end up open. This year, Cooper Kupp is the only wide receiver available on that team. I watched their recent game last night, and Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee, their tight end, are the only players even getting open.
Oh, yes, and Allen Robinson, he might get open a player or two, but you got to put hands on the ball. Matthew Stafford's hit him in all the wrong places. It's the hands.
Yeah. Allen Robinson, I drafted you on my fantasy team, and you're disappointing me.
Yes, but hey, Matthew Stafford, you don't get cutting slack either.
No.
Matthew Stafford, you're throwing too many picks, man.
Yeah, for real.
He threw a game-sealing pick six last night.
Yes. Though I like to say that in my fantasy football league, I have Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson as my receivers. I needed just one of them to score a touchdown, and Matthew Stafford threw that pick six. So that's very disappointing in Matthew Stafford in that whole game.
And you're right. You're right about Odell Beckham. That's just one thing you see NFL teams get involved with a lot is outside pressure, and that's just one of them.
And I will say this: I've never seen something like this happen with Odell Beckham, like where the Rams have a locker for him. But he's still he's showing up in random NFL games on the sideline. He was at the Bills game the other day. I mean, he is testing free agency in the middle of the season. I've never really seen that before.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a college recruit right now.
Yes, that's so true. That is so true.
I mean, he's literally like a college recruit, just going and visiting each team.
And they're all like, "Hey, come here!"
Yeah. But he's still a good football player. As much as I don't really like him that much, he is a good football player. And I think any team that signs him will get an immediate lift in their production.
Yes, definitely. And but here we go from the best team in the NFL for last year to one of the worst. The Jets, are they underperforming or overperforming at their 2-2 record?
Overperforming, I think. I will say that, especially considering for the first few games of the year they didn't have their starting quarterback, which Joe Flacco came in and had an amazing couple games. I honestly thought he may take the starting job, much like a Cooper Rush type situation. But Joe Flacco, he came in there and did what he needed to do, and the Jets are 2-2 right now, and I think they're overperforming from what I predicted them to be. They'll be a good football team in a couple of years. They'll be a playoff team in a couple of years.
Yes. Now, I completely agree. They're overperforming, and maybe they'd be better if Quentin Williams was fighting his defensive line coach at the sideline.
I saw that.
But Joe Flacco is not a stroke. Call him washed, but he did win a Super Bowl. Once upon a time, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl.
He was leading the league in passing yards at one point, a couple weeks in the season. So Joe Flacco's not washed up, and if I'm Joe Flacco and if I'm an NFL team, I think he showed it that he can still be a starting quarterback. So if you're a team like the Browns that are dealing with Deshaun Watson, then Joe Flacco may be an option because the current guy they have there is not that great. I mean, they lost to the Falcons for crying out loud.
Hey, and the Browns, personally, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo would be a great place for the Browns to go with, because
Jimmy Garoppolo is a solid quarterback as well.
Yes. Now, I don't know what's up with the 49ers not liking him, but, he's a good quarterback.
He is. He's a good quarterback.
Kenny Pickett throws 3 interceptions in his debut as a Steeler, and will the Steelers turn around?
I think they will. Their offense won't. Their offense is bad.
Definitely.
But they have one of the best defenses in the league, led by Minka Fitzpatrick. So I think.
Roll time.
Dang right. I think Minka Fitzpatrick and that whole defense is enough to turn their season around. They're not going to be competing for a Super Bowl or anything, but I think they're better than what they're showing right now.
I mean, what they're showing right now is a number 1 big team, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And Kenny Pickett, obviously your first game's not going to be your best game, and you got.
He was thrown out there at half. And
he was, and Mr. Trubisky ain't much better than him.
No.
Let's just admit it.
No.
But I think they'll end up being a 6-win team. probably.
And I think Mitchell Trubisky will still be the starter.
Yeah.
I think that whole Kenny Pickett thing was just hey, we're not doing too good right now. Let's just throw him out and test it.
Yeah, if we pull it off,
the
he's
fans,
starter.
Get the fans fired up, but it didn't work. 3 interceptions. So I think Mitchell Trubisky will still be the starter in Pittsburgh.
Now, the greatest news in the South lately, coming from the MLB of all places, the Braves caught up to the Mets, and they clinched the division.
I will like to say that I said on this show a couple weeks ago that the Braves weren't going to do it. I apologize. I should have believed, and they did it. I mean, they swept the Mets, and after they swept the Mets, I knew it was going to happen. I knew they were going to win it.
I'm pretty sure I did say they would do it. You know, just saying. But the Braves, I was so proud. I think I almost like got on my knees and thank the Lord for them winning it. It was like, you know, we came into this season when they weren't signing Freddie Freeman. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, they signed Matt Olson of all people, and they think that's going to replace Freddie Freeman, which
He has.
Now, Freddie Freeman's heart for Atlanta has not been replaced,
No.
but Matt Olson and
The production on the field is about the same right now. Which you can't expect Matt Olson to be Freddie Freeman as in personality wise, but as far as production on the field, Matt Olson is just as good as Freddie Freeman, in my opinion.
That's right. And you know, Ronald Acuna coming back really gave him the spark, I think. And Marcell Ozuna, whether he's on the team or not, they've been doing good.
Yep.
And I guess the favorite number 0 has hit, and that'll be the end of Sportscast with Jeremiah and Cameron.